extraordinary game of football, magnificent comeback by Collingwood, gallant by the Roos, who have passed rock bottom, are on the mend. More on that in a moment. But there was these comments from Alistair Clarkson after the game that caught the attention of everyone, including the Collingwood coach.
Some of the things that they were doing, it was just like a Russian roulette of whether it was going to come off or not. They made it frenetic footy. They just took punts, downhill skied, and were able to get the ball from one end to the other really, really quickly.
Like when the scoreboard's against you, you've got to take more risks. So then provides opportunities to turn the ball over. We do have method in that, though. I don't think we just go and make it up.
It cannot be Russian roulette when they've done it so many times. They won the premiership last year. They're not downhill skiers. Yeah. I don't blame Craig McRae for slightly bristling at that.
Yeah, and I think they just worked harder. I think it was a work rate issue as well for North, and maybe they don't physically, they're not able to go with the likes of Collingwood who have been there, and they've got those mature bodies. But in the end, one team worked a lot harder than the other, and Lordo, you want to notice their pressure?
Yeah, North just couldn't sustain it. I loved it too, Hutchie. I was the most impressed I've been with North Melbourne in probably 2 years, but they just couldn't sustain it. That's the last quarter when Collingwood kicked 6 goals in that last period. But you do have to take risks. I understand where Clarkson was coming from, where they probably took more risks and were willing to go down by, maybe 50 to win the game by a point.
They've trained it so many times, right. again and again. And
I think the way they play, they do have fluctuations in games because they are quite aggressive. But Collingwood, Hutchie, they've got players after a bye this week. They're third in amazing position. Third.
You were a little sceptical on them a couple of weeks back.
I was sceptical.
Have they proven that they're capable, or is it too early?
Yesterday wasn't great for them, but still, they're third, and they get Degoe, Pendlebury, then arguably their most important player with Dacos and Myercheck back.
And when you speak of their pressure, Collingwood's game and their pressure, when it drops away, they do become vulnerable. And whether they thought it was just North Melbourne the first quarter and the first half, the pressure was off. So what that does, it exposes your defenders. And I did think that Darcy Moore, the captain, was exposed yesterday. No pressure on the ball carrier, bang, there's 5 metre split, just like that. And it was Larkey who just, look, no pressure on the kicker there, good luck defending that. So no defence is more reliant than Collingwood's on the pressure up the field. They're not actually great one-on-one. They like to support each other in the air and guard space, but on the goal line, he's got to be better. He's demanding more from his group, but he's got to demand more of himself. He is the barometer for this group, and I thought he was really poor early, and maybe that's an area, once again, that other clubs can exploit Darcy Moore and Collingwood's defence.
North should have got a 50-metre penalty and should have won this game if they got that 50-metre penalty. Here's Laura Kane giving an answer of why it wasn't paid, and here's my frustration of some that were paid over the last few weeks that were nothing like this one.
The initial call mistake, if you like, was that play on wasn't called. Okay. It should have been called play on. And so I think Collingwood players, they're anticipating they're going to hear a call immediately post-whistle. So really common discussion around players is play the whistle, wait for what's next. What's next didn't come quick enough. And so the confusion for those Collingwood players was what to do. As probably levels of confusion that sat with Bailey himself.
It's a great way of getting around a wrong call, in my opinion. And then the 50 metre is paid for something like this. So no 50 for that, yet something so technical for Marcus Windhager and Tommy Hawkins, where you just come in and you're on the mark. You're not affecting anybody, Caro, but 50 is paid in that regard, where 2 blokes just dramatically come up. The umpire paid Mark in the vision.
But amazingly, Laura said, not to get into the minds of the Collingwood players. Well, it doesn't matter what the umpires think they're thinking. Yeah. It was an extraordinary explanation.
It was paid Mark at the end of the day. Yeah. So the whistle was blown. It was paid Mark. And so on that basis alone, it's a 50-metre penalty.
Had to be. Had to put their hand up and say...
I'm not sure you should actually get on air and actually justify that one. I don't think that helped Laura, and I don't think she should have to do that. Laura Kane, you've made a strong start to the second most powerful job at the AFL. But over the weekend, I think you made your biggest misstep so far. Let's have a listen to the AFL football boss doing the rounds on SEN.
We will make sure we get through the player movement outcomes, including father-son, in the next couple of months.
So if that's not coming for a couple of months, you wouldn't think it'd impact this year's draft?
It might.
It still might?
Yep.
That's late.
The clubs have been on notice. We've been talking about this for 12 months.
Clubs are aware?
Yeah, yep.
So the point system could change for this year's draft?
It could.
So depending on who you believe, the clubs were well aware the AFL was looking at making immediate and crucial changes to player acquisition. or the clubs had no clue the AFL was going to be acting so soon. Either way, the communication should have been stronger. They certainly didn't know a year ago. And either way, the clubs shouldn't have to wait until August to find out the devil in the detail so soon before the trade period. I believe this has been an overreaction to the Gold Coast and their 3 first-round academy picks. That's the Gold Coast, a team that has never, ever looked like making finals. And I believe that Laura and Andrew Dillon have caved into pressure from clubs like St Kilda, who resent father-sons and resent Northern academies and who have made so many poor trade and draft decisions themselves. Laura Kane and her team have also left the Crows and Port Adelaide shattered because they now know they're not going to be allowed to enter a National Reserves competition. Now, she's not the first AFL official to have led an extensive consultative process and then act without adequate warning, and I'm sure she won't be the last. But the stakes are so high on these trade and draft decisions. I hope the Commission step in and give the clubs at least another season to get their ducks in a row.
Okay, strong words. I think the behaviour of several clubs last year suggested they didn't think it would happen. If you look at the graphic now, Carlton have been getting ready for the Camporeale twins, and I would argue that this affects them more than anyone ever comes in this year, given where those kids would land in the pick. Richmond were bundling to move up the order and traded in, and then Gold Coast have been always getting ready for the influx of talent.
They say the rules won't be that tough and that you will still get your father's sons if you really want them. They can't guarantee, though, Carlton will get both the Camporeale twins. I just think that, I honestly, I mean, Laura Kane hasn't done this, but too many senior AFL people are chuckling at whinging clubs again. Now, that's not fair. And I don't believe that they knew a year ago. They did not know.
Yeah, off the back of your arrow, Cara, which I couldn't agree more with, like just the changes in recent times, you just shouldn't be able to change anything mid-season. And we're hearing, still you're spot on. We're in June, almost in July.
We're not going to know till August.
We're not going to know. That's just ridiculous. Not fair on clubs. The holding the ball rule. We heard Travis Boak say, I don't even know what the rule is anymore. I'm not sure it's any clearer right now. Ruck changes, tactical subs changing a week before or being decided upon a week before the season. Umpire dissent, medical substitutions having a week before. It's just not good enough for such a big business when you plan so far in advance.